So we are starting at your front door with our outdoor expert, who's exactly where he loves to be, outdoors. Hey, Carson Arthur! What a beautiful front of your house. And you know, this is like my favorite house, even though I don't live there. I love it at your place. It is gorgeous. You put a lot of work into your space. And that's why we want to talk about what we're going to talk about right now. We are putting him to a 60-minute front door makeover challenge. That's right. Carson, you ready?
Let's go. Start the clocks. I am ready to make this happen.
So we know how important that front door is. It's the welcome. It's sort of what people see first when they are at your house. You're going to be talking about paint, and I'm just wondering, like, is it not too late to paint outside?
Well, yeah, first of all, yeah, it is the first impression. This is the first thing people see when they come to your house. It's also the last thing people see when they leave for the evening. So all those guests, this makes the last impression. So it's really important to really step it up for the holidays. And what I like to do at this time of year is give it a little paint job. Now, before people panic and say it's too cold, most paints nowadays will actually dry when the temperatures are at least above 4 degrees Celsius. And a pro tip for you, with all of your metal planters and metal details, if you take them inside before you paint them to heat them up, then bring them outside, you can paint right away, and the heat that's actually held in the metal will help your paint dry. So you can make it all nice and fresh and sparkly just in time for the holidays.
Okay, well, I guarantee that you were the right man for this job, and we are going to let you get started. You've got a 60-minute makeover on the way. Carson, thank you. We'll check in on you in a bit and see how it's going. Yeah, get spraying. Carson, how is it going?
I am ahead of schedule, believe it or not. I was waiting for you guys.
Well, look at that. Now we finally caught up to you. So you're making some good headway there. You've made some good progress. This guy's a pro. He knows what he's doing. Talk to me a little bit about what you've done.
All right, so I've got the first planter made here, Tracy, and I'm going to show you my little tips and tricks on how to make this for your own front door, because 90% of the stuff in my planter came from my garden, so I saved a lot of money. But there are a few things that you should be prepared for. The first is when you're putting them into the planter themselves, don't put all the soil down into the planter. Instead, put it into a plastic pot like this. That way, it protects the planter if you have any freezing issues. Next, you want to add some of this floral foam. Now, I've got lots of leftover floral foam from all of the arrangements that I've received over the years. I just kept saving it. You're going to pack this all in here like this. And there's a reason why you want to do that. The floral foam is going to hold a lot of your big greenery, specifically your dogwood. And I'm going to pull some of these out of here. These are huge, but I want it to be a big effect. So I'm going to stuff it down in there like that.
Okay, so you've
another
got
one.
Yeah.
Building it up nice and big here.
So we know we start in the center and give it some height, and then you've got to work all the way around it to fill it in. I think that floral foam is the piece that a lot of us are missing, because it doesn't stay, right?
Well, yeah. It's such an easy thing, especially if you've got leftovers, and it doesn't hurt that I have a flower shop now, so I've got lots and lots of it available. So this is about as high as I want to go with my red. And what's going to happen now, Tracy, is when we actually get cold, cold weather, the floral foam, because I've kept it wet, is going to freeze, and it's going to lock all of my plants, including the dogwood, into place. So now I don't have to worry about wind blowing it or inclement weather. The next thing I like to do is add my red, because, you know, it's all about the red for me. If it's not in buffalo plaid, it's got to be in berries. So I'm going to put lots of red down the center here.
Is there any fear of the actual plants freezing, though, Cars?
Not really. I mean, the pot is the bigger thing that you have to protect. These plants have already gone dormant. They've been cut. It's not them that you need to worry about. But if you're using a ceramic planter or plastic and the soil goes inside and the soil freezes and expands, that's where it's going to split your pots. You'll spend a lot of money replacing those planters, which is why instead I like to use metal, or I use that plastic liner, because it's going to save all of your expensive plant or pottery.
All right, Carson, we're going to leave you to it. You're doing well. You're ahead of schedule. You got lots to build out there. But I feel like you got this covered, Carson. You were ahead of time before. Are you almost done?
It's 60 minutes to deliver a front door and 3 weeks to plant it, but we're really close. We're almost there.
Okay, I see you've added some greenery. Talk to me about what you've added to the door.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of cedar roping around because I really like the way it frames the door. But as you can see, I'm holding a wreath in my hand, and this is my favorite hack for all those people out there because the cost of wreaths has gone way up over the last little while. This little guy, still $35, but some of the big ones, $120, $160. I saw one the other day that was $400. So we're not going to spend that on the wreath today, but what I am going to show you is how to cheat, which is all about the backside. Now you'll see on the backside of the wreath, it has a wire frame. And what I've been doing is I've been sticking dogwood into the frame, just tucking it in there so it locks in nice and tight, but I'm adding a ton of greenery around the wreath itself so that now, even though it's the least expensive wreath, it's going to be big and full when I'm done. After that, when I flip it over and I've got all my dogwood filling the empty space, I'm going to start adding things like little berries. And these little berries actually came from the dogwood itself. So I'm going to start working some berries in my color palette. And at the end of it, when it's all built, I'm going to add a nice big red bow for that big impact that I'm looking for.
That is such a good idea. Just add greenery to the less expensive wreath. I want to know, if you're dealing with real greenery, is there a way to keep it from going brown?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Outside, it's a little easier. Outside, you're just going to use a spray bottle, and you're just going to keep misting it with water. If it starts feeling a little dry, the plant will actually absorb the water droplets and kind of rehydrate it. When you're inside, though, you don't want to be spraying this around things like wood mantelpieces because that'll actually cause water droplets to damage your wood. So inside, same thing applies, misting, but take your wreath or your mantelpiece off of wherever it's sitting, take it over to the kitchen sink, run it under some fresh, cold, clean water, and that's all it needs.
Okay, now can you show me more of the planter that you did? I didn't see the finished because when we left, you weren't finished building the whole thing, but show us.
What do you think? So this is my planter on the one side. I've got the second one on the other side, nice, big, and beautiful. But what's really happening is you're seeing the dogwood creating this arch over my head. Now I'm 6'5". These are some big pieces of dogwood, but it really creates that intimate entrance, which is what you're looking for. You want people to be excited to go inside your house because that's where all the good stuff is.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of sort of centering and showcasing that door and putting everything around that door so it just looks a little bit more grand. You're doing a great job, Carson. You're good. So we're going to go to break, and the final reveal is coming up. So hurry up and get working, because you got to be done when I come back, okay? You know, we've been checking in with Carson and his 60-minute front door holiday makeover. This was his task, and now it is time for the final reveal. Carson, let's see it.
You ready? I want to point out I didn't even break a sweat, but here we go.
Beautiful. That is so nice. Once we got the wide shot of it all, like you can see the beautiful garland going up the two columns. You want to walk us through your gorgeous transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. So Tracy, the best part of this transformation is the budget. So I'm going to walk you through the numbers. So this is my $35 wreath. I have one garland here, one on each side. Each of these garlands were about $20. I have all the clippings from my own shrubbery to fill the space. I added some magnolia leaves, a couple of berries, the entire makeover, including the can of paint to finish off the urns, less than 150 bucks.
Woo! Now that's impressive. Okay, is there anything that was challenging about this transformation, or any tips you would give us, things that you wouldn't do the next time, or little things that we might not think is obvious but you might want to tell us about?
Well, there's a few things that I want to make sure everybody notices within the space. Yeah, I used a lot of greenery, and it will all go in the composter afterwards, so it's not like I'm taking it out of nature. I used it out of my garden, but the parts that I like the best are the little personal touches, like this little guy here. I added little bits of whimsy, little things that mean something to me that actually pull the space together. This is my front door. This represents my home. I don't want people coming in and thinking it's a sterile space. I want it to be fun. I want people to laugh and to be smiling when they come in the door, but at the same time, I want it to be environmentally friendly, which is why I went with real greenery throughout, because I know that when I'm done with it, it's going to go back to nature.
So we've talked about this before. What makes more sense? Do we go faux or do we try and do real and sort of mine the earth for what it's got? What would you say, Carson? Is it better to just stick to real if you can?
Yeah, these types of plants, other than from my garden, but everything like the wreath and the garland are grown by farmers. They're not going out into the wild and taking away from nature. They are growing these plants specifically for the purpose of Christmas holiday decorations. So it's not like we're actually taking out of nature to use these in our space, but at the same time, because they won't end up in the landfill, they're not going to be actually causing a problem after we're done with it. When it comes to artificial or faux material, unless you're using it repeatedly for at least 10 years, the carbon footprint on those items is actually worse than going the natural route.
Of course I'm using it for more than 10 years. I don't throw anything out. I feel like I'm being good to the environment. I'll have my tree for a lifetime. Like, I don't understand people that keep adding new faux trees. Like, just use the one faux tree you got. It's good enough.